Jake Fromm, he had a really solid college career, but he isn't really someone that you look at and think, this guy had a massive impact on college football. Sure, he did have an impact on the rise of Georgia football becoming a dynasty, but in a lot of ways, he was a game manager surrounded by a great supporting cast. This isn't meant to insult Fromm, he deserves a lot of credit for Georgia's success, and I think he was an impactful player on the field. However, I believe he was more of an impactful player based off the decisions he made and didn't make and the effect it had on players and programs beyond just Georgia. I call this the Jake Fromm domino effect, and in this video I'm going to dive in depth on the domino effect that Jake Fromm caused both directly and played an impact on causing. The first decision that Fromm made that caused a domino effect was committing to the Alabama Crimson Tide on October 10th, 2015 as a high schooler. This pledge, however, would be relatively short-lived, and the true domino effect came from when he decommitted from Alabama. On March 3rd, 2016, committed to the Georgia Bulldogs the same day. Let me quickly break down as to why this happened. Fromm had not been offered by the in-state Bulldogs until after he committed the Tide. He was offered by Georgia on December 14, 2015, after they had lost the then quarterback commit, Bailey Hawkman, the same day. Losing Hawkman would cause the Bulldogs to turn their attention to three quarterbacks: Fromm, Davis Mills, and Stafford Samuels. Fromm would be the one that would wind up pledging to the Bulldogs. This would cause Alabama to have to find another quarterback in the 2017 recruiting class, and who they found would wind up having a huge impact on college football. Fromm's decommitment would cause the Tide to extend a new offer to a quarterback from a state that the Tide would rarely recruit on March 18, 2016. That player was Tua Tagovailoa. Tua would wind up committing to the Tide on May 2nd of that year. We all know the impact that Tua had on college football. I mean, he threw a game-winning touchdown in the national title game against Georgia. And if it weren't for Jake Fromm ever decommitting from Alabama, Tua never would have ended up there. This would also have an impact on USC's quarterback recruiting, as before the Tide offered, a lot of people thought that Tua would end up at USC. But of course, he would end up with the Tide. USC would end up signing Jake Sears, flipping him from Duke. Alabama would also sign Mac Jones at the quarterback position in the class of 2017, but I don't think this had anything to do with Jake Fromm and more with the Tide needing to get another quarterback in the room. The 2017 season was here, and Jake Fromm would be walking into a quarterback room with true sophomore, former 5-star, returning starter Jacob Eason, Bryce Ramsey, and walk-on by the name of Stetson Bennett. Eason was thought to have had a stranglehold on the starting job, but he would go down with an injury in the very first game of the season, and Jake Fromm, the backup, would replace him, go on to start every single game the rest of the season, leading the team to a national title game appearance, and losing to Tua Tagovailoa. Fromm would really put together a nice season for him, especially as a true freshman, throwing for 2,615 yards, 24 touchdowns, with just 7 interceptions. Fromm obviously played very well for himself on the season and helped lead Georgia to new heights. This, of course, would lead to Jacob Eason transferring and the ripple effect that came as a result of that. Eason would wind up transferring back home to play for the Washington Huskies. He would have to sit out the 2018 season due to NCAA transfer rules at the time, but the 2019 season he come with a vengeance and would claim the starting job beating out Jake Haener, causing Haener to transfer. Before I get to the Jake Haener aspect of this, yes, there's a Haener aspect to this that I'm going to dive into. Eason would put together a pretty solid season for himself at Washington, throwing for 3,132 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions while rushing for another touchdown. Following the year, Eason would declare for the NFL draft, getting drafted in the 4th round. Okay, now continuing this very ADHD video, I'm going to dive into Jake Haener a tiny bit. He go on a transfer to Fresno State under head coach Kalen DeBoer. Yep, that Kalen DeBoer. And Haener and DeBoer were teamed up for one season and would prove to be a very good duo. We all know what would happen with DeBoer after 1 year with Haener at Fresno State. He go on to go get the Washington Huskies head coaching job and would later get the Alabama head coaching job after Nick Saban retired. So in some weird, twisted way, it's Jake Fromm's fault that Kalen DeBoer is Alabama's head coach. Okay, anyways, back to the task at hand. Following the season, Bryce Ramsey would graduate, and Stetson Bennett, the walk-on, would transfer to community college. But that doesn't really matter much, because he's just a walk-on transfer into some community college. We're never going to hear about this guy again in the video. But yeah, so in other words, Jake Fromm completely blew this quarterback room up, and he'd be the only guy to return to the quarterback room the following season. He would, however, come in with a little bit of competition coming into the season, as highly rated superstar recruit Justin Fields would be brought in by the Bulldogs. Spoiler alert, Fields never beat out Fromm, and Fromm would go on to start every single game in the 2018 season, even if some Georgia fans were kind of disappointed by this. I mean, in hindsight, Justin Fields is a way better quarterback than Jake Fromm, but at the time, Fromm was kind of hard to deny. He threw for 2,749 yards, 30 touchdowns, and just 6 interceptions. Fields would go on to throw for 328 yards with 4 touchdowns and 0 interceptions on the year while playing mostly in garbage time. It was obvious Fields had a higher ceiling than Fromm, but with Fromm, he was consistent. You knew what you were going to get out of him, and the Georgia program had some good things going for them. So I don't entirely blame Kirby Smart for choosing Jake Fromm over Justin Fields, even if I would have chosen Fields. So yeah, following the 2018 season in which Fields could not beat out Fromm, Fields would elect to transfer out, and this was yet another whip effect that Fromm sent through college football. Alright, well, now it's time to go on a long tangent about Justin Fields. So, Fields was elected to enter the transfer portal, which was brand new at the time. There was one team that he made eye-to-eye contact with instantly. That team was a team with a brand new head coach in the Ohio State Buckeyes, with Ryan Day. Ironically, the Buckeyes hadn't even recruited Fields out of high school, like at all. Like, no scholarship offer at all. Still, this was a match made in heaven, and Fields would commit to dating the Buckeyes shortly after entering the transfer portal. Okay, I just want to pause here for a minute and state the importance of Justin Fields transferring to Ohio State, what it meant to the program. They had just lost their starting quarterback Dwayne Haskins to the NFL draft, and beyond Haskins, they had not recruited the quarterback position well at all the past few years, and had a very empty cupboard. I mean, before Justin Fields arrived, the two quarterbacks in the room for Ohio State were Tate Martell and Matthew Baldwin. Ohio State's 2018 team was still really talented regardless if Fields transferred there or not, and their program has never really had a down period. But who knows what happens? The first year of a head coach and not having a relevant quarterback, a lot of things could go wrong. I'm saying all this to say Justin Fields was an incredibly important player for the Buckeyes, and he led them to a lot of wins, including a runner-up in a national title game, a victory over Clemson in the playoffs, and a win against Michigan, and 2 Big Ten championship wins. And none of this is possible without Jake Fromm beating him out at Georgia. Seriously, who knows where this Buckeye program goes in the first few years under Ryan Day without Justin Fields transferring there? For the second year in the row, the Bulldogs were heading into the season with Fromm as the only scholarship program, as Fromm once again cleared out the room. The Bulldogs would flip Dwayne Mathis, a class of 2019 quarterback, ironically from Ohio State, who ironically was turned off by Ohio State after hearing of the idea of Justin Fields transferring there. They would also bring in a community college transfer by the name of Stetson Bennett, who is also the same guy that was a walk-on earlier in the video, so obviously he's relevant. Anyways, during the 2019 season, Jake Fromm would put up yet another season that made him look more and more like a game manager, throwing for 2,860 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Following the season, Jake Fromm would make his last decision that would send shockwaves through college football and have a bit of a domino effect. And that was by surprising a lot of people and declaring for the 2020 NFL draft, as Fromm was not looked like as a prospect that was ready to rock and roll for the draft. He ended up getting drafted in the 5th round and would never really end up playing in the NFL, never seen significant time for any team. Dogs would retain Mathis and Bennett for the following season and also started Carson back out of high school, but Fromm's early decision for the NFL draft caused the Dogs to go out and pick up JT Daniels from the transfer portal. And this right here is the ending of the Jake Fromm domino effect. A lot of choices and decisions have widespread effect throughout college football and trigger so many different events to happen, but man, Jake Fromm did this multiple times, causing ripple effects throughout the landscape of all of college football. Thank you to everyone for watching this video, and please consider liking and subscribing for more related content. Thank you very much.